Welcome to the Family Beacon podcast from Minnesota Family Council with hosts Grace Evans and Moses Brattrud. Stay informed on the top stories on life, family, and religious freedom. Get the facts, stand for truth.
Hey guys, welcome to the Family Beacon from Minnesota Family Council. We're starting. Welcome to the Family Beacon for the last time in 2022 because when we come back in 2023, it will be season 3 of this podcast.
I am so excited, Moses. Yeah. Big things are coming, right?
Big things are coming.
Big things.
I have a feeling that most podcasts, I'm just guessing, kind of just crash and burn. Like people just get tired of them. They don't get listeners. Whatever it is that's caused caused a podcast to fail. But here we are on the cusp of completing 2 seasons of the Family Beacon, and it is growing, and it is, I actually want to share some stats.
I'm just adjusting my chair, Moses, because I was not ready to start, so sorry, guys.
Me too, a little bit.
But yes, okay, I am honestly very nostalgic about this, Moses, because I remember when we first started the podcast, in July of, was it 2021?
Yeah.
I think it must have been.
Yep.
Number one, I feel like we just been putting it off for a while. It was kind of the thing that needed to happen, but we had just been so busy that summer with various other projects for work. And then you're like, Grace, we're just going to start it. And we started it. And I remember we did a preparatory one via Zoom. I don't know why we did it on Zoom, but we did it on Zoom. Yeah, we did it on Zoom so we could record ourselves and to see how we would interact, because we never had done something like this before together.
Man, I wonder if we should find that recording.
We should. I don't know I don't think I have it on my computer. Heaven forbid. But I remember
I bet it's in my Zoom recordings. Go ahead.
We have this comfortable back and forth dialogue down. I really think we do. Mm-hmm. And so we didn't have that in the beginning. At least I didn't. You were always a great communications director. I was nervous. I feel like you could just see me kind of quaking a little bit on the first few episodes. I'll rewatch it and I'll think,
a little bit.
I was very, very nervous, but now I feel so much more confident. I would always second guess what I was going to say because I was so nervous about it going out to so many people, because how many people do we send this out to every week, Moses?
Yeah, we have about, depends on what number you want to use, but roughly 50,000 people.
Yeah, every week. And so I was nervous. I was like, okay, I got to make sure my words are clear. I have to make sure I'm not speaking too fast, which I still struggle with that.
Yes, she does.
And so, thank you. Keeping me humble here. But yeah, we've progressed a lot. We want to talk more about the statistics, though, because they're honestly...
they're pretty awesome.
We forgot to say, this is not a political episode, you guys.
Oh, yeah. Guess what?
It's not going to be political.
There's no news updates today. We want to, for this last episode of the season, we want to just take a moment to be thankful and grateful for you guys for supporting the podcast. For Grace, my amazing co-host, for Jack, who has done so much to make this podcast a success, and to look forward a little bit, to look backward a little bit, and ultimately just to wish everybody a very Merry Christmas. So that's why we're here today, a little bit more of a fun, lighter episode, which we don't usually let ourselves do.
It's just so easy and so fun.
Yeah.
So we try to, stay more political, keep you informed.
We know that the reason that you listen to the podcast is to get the facts, stand for truth, learn about the stories that are affecting Minnesotans, things that will affect you now and in the months and years to come. Mm-hmm. And we know that you appreciate that because you've told us, and we are so grateful to hear that. But today we're gonna slow down. We're gonna talk about how we got here and what we've been able to accomplish. So let me throw some statistics at you, Grace.
Yeah.
In 2022, we produced more than 1,400 minutes of content.
Can we just more than 1,400 minutes?
Yeah. I think it's got to be approaching 1,500 now with this episode, because that was a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Wow. Honestly, I am blown away by the fact that people genuinely enjoy this so much. They enjoy listening to our takes on politics.
Yeah.
And that they're just out here supporting life, family, and religious freedom. Like, you guys here listening today, you guys are the ones that care about these things in culture. That's why you listen to this podcast, and it really is amazing that we're able to produce all of that we are funded to be able to do that. It's a huge blessing.
Right, absolutely. Wow. So on Spotify, we're one of the top 30% of most followed podcasts.
Wow, so, that is shocking.
Yeah, like 70% of the podcasts on Spotify are below us, which is kind of crazy because, we're a podcast, and probably most of the people listening are in Minnesota, which is 5.8, 5.7 million people out of the English-speaking world of, and it's not just English-speaking podcasts on Spotify, but the English-speaking world would be, 1 billion people who can speak English. So, that's huge. 78% of our listeners are new in 2022, wow. So we're growing. It's not just the old reliables, and 44% more minutes listened to. Again, this is our audio version than in 2021. On YouTube, we had over 13,000 views. I didn't even count how many likes. 81,000 minutes watched.
Wow.
81,000 minutes.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of minutes.
Oh.
It's a lot of days. I mean, if you think about it.
Because every single week, except for Christmas and Thanksgiving week, I feel like we produce.
Yeah.
Wow.
So those are some of the raw stats. Now, why don't you tell us, Grace, about some of the most popular episodes that we have?
Yeah, we were just looking at this because we were genuinely wondering, okay, which ones are the most popular? This is based off of...
It is based.
We're such... I don't even know. Now we're drinking on camera? Okay. Drinking water?
Yeah, please do clarify. This is water.
Drinking water on camera? This is
the thing we all need to live. Water.
We're so informal in this episode. Before we start, I'm scooting, or as we're starting, I'm scooting in my chair. You're drinking water.
I did. I mean, you did start the camera, to be fair. So
this is true. Okay. Anyways, so these are based on our YouTube stats. Wow. On our YouTube stats, but they're pretty comparable to Anchor stats in what people find most appealing.
Anchor is our podcast platform.
Yes, Anchor's our Audible podcast. Yeah, there we go. Anyway, it's kind of confusing. What I was trying to say is
Audible is audiobooks.
Audio is Anchor, and videoed is YouTube. Okay, so our most popular ones: Burnsville Schools Attack Parental Rights, which was episode 31. That one was
that was just a few weeks ago.
Yeah, just a few weeks ago. People loved that one. I mean, so many views on that one on YouTube. So I guess that just goes to show, Moses, that people really do care about parental rights here in Minnesota.
Yes.
It's something that people are rising up to protect. You don't want to mess with Mama Bear. You just don't. That's what political candidates need to realize. And so that was interesting. A few weeks ago, our highest viewed one on YouTube. And then Governor Walz's education plan is a CRT roadmap. That was a title of one that we did. I feel like that must have been halfway through season.
I want to say that was late summer, midsummer, because we were talking about the social studies standards, among other things. So, and now we know, which we didn't know then, unfortunately, that we're going to have 4 more years of Governor Walz and his radical education agenda. So we need to keep tabs on that, and we will. Coming back to you in season 3, we will absolutely. Interesting. Both of these are about education. Mm-hmm. Burnsville Schools and the CRT roadmap. So I think that's interesting. I think that's telling us that people want to hear about education issues, and we talk about that a lot. So that's good to know.
Yeah. So we'll keep you posted on that. We'll continue to give you the facts on education so that you can stand for truth in your district. As we know, children are the future. My generation, each generation that comes along is the future of both our country and our state. And so education really is where it's at if you want to change culture. So we'll keep you posted. The other one that was very popular, Moses, was the Pro-Life Wisconsin group was targeted. The one where we talked all about how our sister organization in Wisconsin got vandalized by Jane's Revenge. That was a very popular episode. People like to be kept in the loop about that kind of things, that kind of a thing. And so, unfortunately, we have seen a big rise in violence in the aftermath of Dobbs v. Jackson and Roe v. Wade being overturned. So that's just something that we continue to be aware of. We need to continue to call upon President Biden to hold domestic terrorists accountable because it is un-American and anti-democracy. So, that was another very popular one for
that was May 8th, I believe. Mm-hmm. And I just Googled it to make sure I'm right. There has been no arrests. There has been no clear sense that an investigation is even happening. The FBI, I actually went on the FBI's website the other day for, that sounds kind of sketchy, but I don't remember what I was looking for actually, and I saw that they're trying to solicit information about attacks on pregnancy centers and pro-life groups. So they're trying. However, as far as we know, there has been little progress in making arrests. Just giving you an update, since you guys loved that episode and made it our 3rd most watched of the year. So I just think that's that's sad and instructive, and we need to be vigilant. We need to be safe. Yeah.
Very true. So those are our most watched episodes on YouTube. We also wanted to share our personal favorite episodes because, okay, it was hard for us to choose, but we do have personal favorites, and we just want to share this with you. So Moses, go ahead and share your favorite with our audience and why it was your favorite.
So my favorite has got to be Season 2, Episode 13, which was called Reviewing Jordan Peterson's Message to the Church. Hey, we're going to stick these in the show notes. We'll stick the top three. We'll stick the top 3 episodes and our favorite episodes. So the thing about so Jordan Peterson, as you guys probably all know, is a Canadian psychologist/psychiatrist, and he has done so much in helping people, I think, especially kind of unchurched young men find purpose in life. He's really done a lot. I do admire him. And so his message to the church was interesting, and we talked about that back in back in episode 13. I really enjoyed that. One of the things that I really enjoy is thinking about the intersection of what I would call the old right conservatives who are, let's say that you're conservative because you're a conservative Christian person. That's great. That's probably would be a simple way of describing why I'm a conservative. But there's also the new right. And those are people who are not coming to conservative positions from any type of particularly deep religious faith, although sometimes becoming right-wing politically is grounds for rediscovering and religion and even taking faith more seriously. Anyhow, so Jordan Peterson comes from that wing, but now he's speaking into the church, and it's very interesting. So anyway, check out that episode. I really enjoyed talking about that. I want to talk more, I hope, next season, actually, about the tensions between the old right and the new right. This comes up in my discussions with conservative friends frequently. Like, where do we draw the line? How do we interact with each other? How do we win? So I hope we can talk about more about that. So now, those are our 2 favorite episodes.
Oh, I have to share my favorite.
I'm so sorry. Wow, look at me.
We're so informal this episode, we forget.
The male chauvinism of me forgetting to ask you.
Toxic masculinity.
Toxic masculinity. Grace, what was your favorite episode?
So I actually just changed it in my mind because there are a lot of good ones, but you better believe it was going to be a pro-life one. So the title, this was Season 2, Episode 10. It was called Get Ready for Pro-Life Summer.
Nice.
And the reason we named it that is because there is this, name going around that's gone around for the past few years of hot girl summer, which is really weird and inappropriate, right? But
it's not going around now. I mean, have you looked at the weather?
Right, it's so crazy. But anyways, we were like, okay, what is this summer going to look like? You know what? It's going to look like a pro-life summer. Yes. And so we filmed that on June 24th. Actually, we filmed it on June 23rd, and it got released on June 24th. And the reason it's my favorite is because, of course, as we know, that was the day that Roe v. Wade was overturned, but we had recorded it before we even knew that was going to happen. At that time, what we had said is we had explained how desperate pro-abortion activists were getting. And that's why part of the reason we were so confident that Roe v. Wade would be overturned. Yeah. There were a lot of activists that were twerking in front of SCOTUS, yes, to try to get their point across, which I don't know how that changes anyone's mind. It just makes you look unprofessional. There were...
I want to go back to a time when the phrase twerking in front of SCOTUS was meaningless.
Vibes, honestly. There were pro-abortion activists that were literally stripping in churches. Yes, that's how desperate they were. We talked about this in the podcast.
So interesting. Sorry, I just want to say that reminds me, there's this group, I can't say the name of it on this family podcast, but there's a group in Russia. Do you remember who I'm talking about?
I have no idea, but I just can't take you seriously with your hat. I'm sorry.
Well, I was taking you super seriously with your hat, so I guess that means I'm the more mature and responsible one.
He is older.
I guess we knew that already. Yeah, I mean, I better be more mature. Anyway, certainly the gray hair should be an indication of that.
He did get a haircut, but you guys just can't tell.
Yeah, the hat is covering up my awesome haircut.
If you take it off, it'll look a little.
No, yeah, if I take it off, I'm gonna have hat hair. So you'll have to wait till next season to see
it'll
this
be
amazing
grown out by then.
Oh, I'll get another haircut by then.
Good.
Wow.
Anyway, sorry, you were saying Russia something?
You know what? I was going really off topic, but I wonder if these American people who are stripping in churches are getting their idea from this Russian group that was basically doing the same thing.
Okay.
And they all got arrested, and it was, yeah.
Point being made, pro-abortion activists were not having the greatest time because they were worried. They were foaming at the mouth. They literally dressed in blood-stained clothing and held baby dolls. Like, they marched down the streets.
And took abortion pills live on the steps of the Capitol.
So sad.
SCOTUS.
It's so sad. So we were highlighting in that episode, how desperate they were, and we said, you guys, get ready for a pro-life summer. We know that this is the pro-life generation. They know this is the pro-life generation. We know that a pro-life summer is coming. And boom, the next day, the pro-life generation arrived and the fight began.
Amazing.
The fight had just started. And so, yes, we are in this fight to win this fight. It is an uphill battle, but I have to say that must be my favorite. Just so many good memories from this summer, honestly. Best summer of my life, hands down. It was just a huge win for life. So let's talk about, you've heard our favorite episodes. You can watch them in the description. Let's talk about our vision for next season, Moses. Yeah. What things do you hope to, implement, change? Yeah.
I don't want to change anything that's already, that really works. We're going to try to just improve everything a little bit instead of improving one thing in a whole lot of ways. One big change is that we'll be in our beautiful new office in St. Paul. Instead of here in the suburbs. Okay, taking this with us, probably, but we'll have, yes. Oh. We'll have, telling Grace that live on air.
But the flicker in my eye of fear.
It's going to be good, because we are going to get better lights. I think that's just necessary. Sorry if you guys don't care about us talking shop like this, but we said, let's have a conversation on air about it. And one of our lights died, so we definitely need one.
Yes.
And guys, folks, comment, shoot us a message if there's any other aspects of the podcast that you think that should be improved. But we really want to keep this the same format of getting you the facts so that you can stand for truth, focusing on both Minnesota and national issues, focusing on life, family, religious freedom, parental rights, education, the church, all the things that are most important to us, and we believe to you.
Yeah. So our mission's going to stay the same, but our quality will just continue to improve.
Yeah, I think
every season.
I think we can improve audio quality. I think we can improve video quality. However, there will be one sad change, which is that Jack, our producer,
Jack Bittner, is amazing.
Jack helped us get this podcast off the ground.
Could not have done it without him.
Absolutely could not have happened without him. He is moving on to bigger and better things. We're really excited for him in his new full-time role. However, that means he can't help us do the podcast anymore, and I'm sad, and I can't really spin that in a positive way, except that I do believe that we will be able to put out a high-quality podcast.
Yes, and we're excited for
things
that
learned so much.
Yes, we've learned a lot. We're so grateful for him. Jack has just been so instrumental, not only in the podcast, but also in our Unwoke video series.
Yes.
I had a vision, but Jack was the one who executed the vision so well with, honestly, very high quality animation. He has brought the level of quality so far up. I'm so grateful for him. Honestly, they're comparable to PragerU videos, in my opinion, of how well done they are.
And the content is actually better, so.
Facts, though. And I'm so grateful for Jack. We are excited, though, for this next chapter of his life and his career. So, yes, thank you to our producer. He's watching this right now. So thank you, Jack. We are so grateful for you.
Absolutely.
Now we're going to turn to the Christmas portion of our episode.
Is that why we're wearing these hats?
That's why we're wearing these hats. Is that why I went to Michael's to buy these for us? Yes.
Yes, yes. And I'm so glad you did, because, honestly, this is not only comfy, but it fits pretty well. Looks decent, considering that it was how much money?
$2 a piece.
Whoa!
Yeah.
What did you say about mine?
It's a little tight.
It is a little tight. I have a relatively large head. I'm glad I got a haircut.
Do you see my smirk?
No. No, I didn't. Did you smirk?
Yeah.
Have you ever been sarcastic in your life?
Never.
Nope. Okay, so so it is Christmas.
Yes.
Christmas is the best time of year, in my personal opinion. Some people might disagree.
It's the best holiday, hands down.
Absolutely, I do agree with that. And I'm just wondering, Grace, do you, as an adult, or growing up with your family, do you have any cool Christmas traditions, Advent traditions that you think everyone should do?
There's a lot. Maybe we should go back and forth, because I know you have some too. One of the ones that I love, and for some reason this is not as common as I thought it was, but I love going and getting a real Christmas tree.
Oh, yes.
Chopping it down, bringing it home. I do not understand people that only get fake ones. Like, okay, I get it's less of a mess. I get that it's more cost effective in the long run, but there's just something joyful about the smell of a real Christmas tree, the look of it. It's imperfect, and I think that's part of what makes it beautiful. And it's a whole experience, like going out into the woods while it's snowing, chopping it down. So I will say that this year with my roommates, because I live separately from my family now, we went and got one at Home Depot because they're very affordable. It was a real tree, but we didn't chop it down. Right. I think that that's fine. I think ideally you go in the woods and you make it a whole thing, but I just think real trees are the best. Absolutely. Even though we're gonna actually, my family will have. It makes your house
smell so amazing.
Yes.
I mean, it's sort of like, yeah, you can get a fake tree and you can get a scented candle. It ain't the same.
No.
I'm sorry.
No.
I love scented candles, but
I think this year we're going to have at my parents' house, I think they're going to have one fake one and one real one, and they're going to have two in the house, which I think is a cool idea, as long as we have one real one that smells like a real tree. So tell me about one of your traditions.
Well, I mean, same. Getting a real Christmas tree was a big highlight this year. Actually, yeah, we got a great family picture that's going to be in our Christmas card. And then
don't forget to send me a Christmas card.
I don't know that I will.
Really?
I'm so sorry, but I might just
every year I
give
feel
it
like
to
I don't get. Oh, great.
We've never
If you
sent
just
one
give it to
before,
me.
I don't
Yeah,
think.
I feel like I never get one from you.
Yeah.
If you just put one up on the fridge here at the office, that would be fine.
That would be good. That's a good idea.
Or at our new office.
At our new office, yeah. We're going to get a fancy new fridge as well. Mm-hmm. It's going to be one of those fridges that's so smart it tells you what you want to eat. No, I'm just kidding.
I was going to say nonprofit?
Okay, so biggest, maybe the cheapest one we can find. Let's be real. The best tradition that I think, and I think this is something that my wife and I did before we had kids, or at least when our kids were definitely too young to participate. But now we do something called a Jesse tree, and basically it's kind of like an advent calendar. So the tree of Jesse is the line of David. Jesse is David's father, and the descendant of Jesus, the ancestor of Jesus. In theory, they're both sides. That's kind of an interesting thing. You look at the biblical genealogies and why they slightly differ, the genealogies of Jesus. Some people say that's because one of them is Joseph's genealogy, Jesus' adoptive father, and one of them is Mary's genealogy, Jesus' birth mother. So I don't know if that's true, but I'm just giving you that if that's helpful to you. So the tree of Jesse, you look at Scripture, you look at the story, you have a reading each day, and you look at the story of Christmas, but you don't start with Luke or Isaiah. You start in Genesis.
Oh, that's
You start
cool.
with a story of God's love for his people, the fall, why redemption was necessary, and then going through the covenants, the covenant with Noah, the covenant with Moses, the covenant with David.
Covenant theology, chef's kiss.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
And like God showed his faithfulness time and time again. So that by the time you get to Christmas, by the time you get to 1 AD or whenever Jesus was actually born, it shouldn't have been a surprise that Jesus came. In fact, it wasn't a surprise, right, to Anna and Simeon, the people who were there, who were waiting for the birth of that child. They didn't know in what form that redemption would come necessarily, but so I just love doing that. We're trying to do that basically every night, and then there's a Bible reading, there's a little prayer that we're doing, and then there's like a laminated thing with an image of what we're talking about, and then we hang that on this little tree thing. So it's really cool.
That's great, especially for kids.
Yeah, it really helps. We have all sorts of inventive ways of bringing Mary into this, and it's fun.
Wow, that sounds really fun.
Yeah.
What do you do anything with Santa Claus? I'm curious.
Well, I don't really
As we wear the Santa
I
hats.
don't love. Yeah, I know. I don't love the whole Santa thing. I don't love the. I mean, when I was a kid, I loved it. I loved the idea of getting presents. I loved the idea
of lying to your kids.
No, I know. So far we have not done Santa Claus per se, but what we did do is we celebrated the real Saint Nicholas, who lived in Turkey a very long time ago. And what he was supposed to have done is there were these. He was in the city of Myra, I think, in Turkey, Saint Nicholas of Myra, and there was this very poor girls, and there was this wealthy man, and he secretly came into their house, and he put gold coins in their shoes so that they would have enough money to have a good dowry to get married. And he did that for the oldest daughter, then for the next daughter, and then when it was thought that he would be caught, he went down the chimney and so that's supposedly where the tradition came from. Did that actually happen? I have no idea. But at least some people, at least there's some evidence that it did. And so we told Mary that story. And so on St. Nicholas Day, which was like a week ago, we gave her some small gifts in her shoe. And
cute.
Is that right? I don't remember exactly what we did. Yeah, I think we did. And so, yeah, we're just trying to celebrate that way. But I think when we have real presents on Christmas Day, we'll say that they're from Mama and Daddy.
Yeah.
I don't have a strong opinion either way.
Well, I just don't get, if I was a mom and I went and bought presents for my kids with my husband or whatever, of course I want to take credit for that. I don't know. I would be like, yes, I got these for you.
Yeah, I worked hard for those presents.
Not this random guy that doesn't exist. Sorry, your kid watching.
St. Nicholas didn't buy you that iPad.
No, not that I think you should get your kids iPads.
Well, true,
but
yeah. No.
Anyways, yeah, so that's interesting. Another tradition that we have is these are all just kind of festive things, but we love making sugar cookies, like homemade sugar cookies,
yum.
and then frosting them. And we do all different kinds of frosting. And then we usually watch White Christmas. Have you seen White Christmas?
Yes, I have.
Do you like it?
That's a good one. Yep.
It's a classic. Just the dancing and the music. So good. That's so much fun. And then we also will string cranberries and popcorn on the strand.
Oh, that's the best.
While you listen, or while you watch a Christmas movie or listen to Christmas music, it's just like...
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas.
I'm not even going to try.
That's really bad. My voice is not great today. But
that wasn't actually that bad.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. If I kept going, then it would get to the high part, and then it would be bad. So
I think that's where the girls are supposed to join in anyways, so...
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I love that movie. Our only... watching tradition is that we always watch A Charlie Brown Christmas, which is my absolute favorite form of Christmas media. I did not grow up on it. Really? Mm-mm. I'm disappointed in your parents because
I was going to say, don't be disappointed in me to be disappointed in them.
No, yeah, it's like not only is it unlike Rudolph or arguably It's a Wonderful Life or White Christmas, it's about the gospel. Like it actually is. Mm. Like that's the center of the story. And it's kind of amazing that it's such a popular piece of American culture because it's also such a beautiful story of how discovering the story of Jesus is what matters. It is what matters on Christmas, and it is what matters all year round. Mm-hmm. Okay. I can't think of any other awesome traditions. We want to start more. My family and I, we want to do more Christmassy things. And we also try to do like Advent versus Christmas and try to do like prepare our hearts. I talked about that a few weeks ago, talking about Advent. So, Grace...
I think ultimately, can I just say one more thing to wrap up this portion? Ultimately, I think it's really easy to get lost in American consumerism during Christmas. Even as Christians, it's easy to be like, oh, like for me, I actually love giving gifts so much. And so it makes me so excited to go out and we do this thing. Oh, this is another tradition, I guess. We'll choose like one sibling to get a gift for. It'll be randomized. And then you get to spend a lot of money on that one sibling rather than a little bit on everyone.
Right.
And it's so much fun. And so I get so excited picking out the perfect thing for my brother or my sister or whatever. Mm-hmm. But then I think it's easy to get, even though that's a good thing, and you should want to give good gifts because all good gifts come from God, ultimately it can be easy to get caught up in that even when you're buying something for someone else and even more so when you're getting things. Right. And so I just think it's really important as Christians to remind our children and to remind our siblings and to remind those around us why we do these things. Like, why do we give good gifts? It's because God has already given us the best gift.
Amen.
And so it's just a reflection of that. And what a better way to be more, like this is such a countercultural way to live, honestly, is to truly soak up the beautiful things of earth, the beautiful things that God has given us, and to tell our children, to tell others around them that this all points to God, right? Yeah. We love these things. God has given us these things, but ultimately we love him the most.
Yeah. That's so good, Grace. Thank you so much for bringing that theological point in because it isn't about traditions. It isn't about saints. It isn't about presents. It is about
rejoicing in him.
Rejoicing in the God who rejoices to give gifts to us and the greatest gift, Jesus, as you said. I won't repeat you.
Yeah, and he wants us to be a joyful people. Like that's what we're saying. Like he wants us to rejoice. He wants us to take joy in everything he has given us. But ultimately, we need to have rightly ordered loves, right? We love him first and everything else underneath. So
okay, so we
pivot.
Can't go one episode without saying something controversial. So I'll say something controversial.
Oh, okay.
Christmas is on a Sunday this year. A lot of people are going to either have their church canceled, so they have no choice, or they're going to feel very tempted to stay home on Christmas Day. And you know what? I don't particularly want to go to church on Christmas Day, but I'm going to because it's Sunday. And because I think that God's people should meet on Christmas Day, possibly most of all. However, my exhortation to you is to go to church on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. I don't care if I'm not your pastor, but I think it's so important to make Christmas a religious holiday, not just a time where we sit around in our PJs and eat too many cookies and have gifts. Yes, that is literally one of the things that I enjoy the most out of my entire life every year, right? But that isn't the center of it. The center of Christmas is Jesus Christ. Mm-hmm. And I think going to church is how we underline that and proclaim that as true in our lives.
Facts. And I think for anyone who's in a similar stage of life as me, being just like newly moved out of the home in college or whatever, now is your first opportunity to set rhythms for the rest of your life these are rhythms that you set in your 20s, and the patterns that you set now are going to affect how you live later. And so I think it's so important for you to be consistent and to realize, okay, mom and dad aren't holding my hand right now and saying we're going to church, but it really is up to me to go to church and to worship with God's people. And so set those patterns now so that when you do have a family, well, number one, your soul is really important, so take care of your soul. Absolutely. But then also when you have a family, when you have children, you have little souls entrusted into your care too. And so make sure that you are rightly orienting your heart now so that you're setting a good path for the future. Yeah. So I would hands down agree with you. Absolutely. Okay, so like we said, we can't finish any episode without being controversial, but we also can't finish an episode, really, not very many anyways, without talking about books. Yep. So Moses, tell me what you're reading.
I will tell you what I'm reading in it because it's so fun. So I'll tell you what I just finished. I read a book called 38 Nooses, Lincoln, Little Crow, and The Beginning of the Frontier's End by Scott W. Burke. And it is about a war that happened in Minnesota.
Okay.
Which many people don't even know about. That's the Dakota War.
I didn't know about it.
Yeah, no, it's really interesting because it happened in 1862, and basically the Dakota Indians who lived here were being stiffed by the white people. It's the same old story. And they rose up. Unfortunately, they committed a lot of massacres, and they killed almost 500 people. And it was not good. There were many Dakota who helped the white captives. There's stories of amazing generosity on the part of the Indians who kept white people safe at the risk of their own lives. But there were people who committed very horrible acts. And so this led to 38 Nooses, the largest federal execution in American history, when Abraham Lincoln took 460 death sentences, I think. He looked at the evidence and he decided that there were going to be 39 Indians who were going to face the scaffold. And then I think one more was commuted, so it ended up being 38 Indians. And again, this is the largest execution in American history, and it happened in Mankato, Minnesota. It's a very sobering historical event. If you read the story, you kind of think that most of these people probably deserved some sentence, but on the other hand, debate continues to rage. Were these people who were members of a separate nation, and were they taking up arms against the United States in not a legal way, but when we captured a German soldier in World War II, we didn't just have a court and convict them and shoot them, unless they were guilty of war crimes. So were they a separate nation, or were they part of the United States? And that's something that we continue to wrestle with. I'm so interested in Native American history, so that was really interesting. Because of that, I was like, I need to read a book about Lincoln, because I never have. And so I've just started. I'm actually more than halfway done now with "And There Was Light: Abraham Lincoln and the American Struggle." And it's a decent book. It's brand new. It was published just 2 months ago. It's really short. John Meacham is a very famous author. Unfortunately, the book is too short. I think we might have to talk about it next season, because it's so interesting the way it deals with Lincoln and allegations that Lincoln was racist. I think the approach is actually flawed, but I won't go into that in depth now. And finally, I'm continuing to read Rites of Spring, The Great War, and the Birth of Modern Society.
These are hefty intellectual books.
Yeah.
I feel like you haven't read fiction in a while, have you? Because I every time you come on the podcast.
Well, yeah, I did. I read the J.K. Rowling mystery.
Oh, yeah. But I feel like you didn't like it, so it wasn't very relaxing.
I did like it.
Oh, you did? In the end?
Yeah, okay. I gave it 4 stars.
Oh, okay.
So that's what I'm reading. The cool thing is for me, guys, I'm about to meet my Goodreads goal for the year.
I was going to ask you, so what was your goal?
My goal, it was originally 50, but I put it down to 40, and I am at 40.
Let's go.
So, and I'll be at 41 or 42.
That's so good. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And you read very academic books. So this is like 40 academic. Like they're all
they're not all. And
a
honestly,
lot of them are
audiobooks. So it's like they better be going in, but sometimes they go over the head. For those of you who are listening, not watching. Mm-hmm. So Grace, what are you reading as we close out the year? Yeah,
well, first of all, not to brag, but I've read about 60 books this year.
Holy mackerel. Okay, but I'm sorry. Is that what you're going to say? That does not count. You are paying people a lot of money so that they will assign books to you to read.
Okay, but Moses,
college education.
Most of my books, for most books that I've read weren't for school, actually, because for school we usually read portions of books, and so I don't count those on Goodreads as reading them fully.
Okay, fair enough.
So there's like maybe 5 of them in depth that I genuinely did read for school. Right now on Goodreads it says I've read 50 books. As my goal was 50, but I've read closer to 60 because I haven't put in the whole Harry Potter series that I read this summer.
Gosh, that's right.
I reread them all. So yes. I am reading right now. I'm reading The Extraordinary Education of Nicholas Benedict, which is the last in the series of the Mysterious Benedict Society.
It's another trick. Read kids' books.
Well, personally, I just like fiction.
Is the biggest word in that entire book. Participate.
No, Moses, because the kid in the book actually loves big words.
Oh, he does. Yes. Oh, yeah, big words like elementary.
Like I'm saying, it's a great book. These books are actually pretty thick.
It has 5 syllables. Elementary.
It was called The Extraordinary Education. So extraordinary.
Extraordinary. 6 syllables. Ooh.
Oh my gosh. Well, now he's judging me for enjoying children's lit. But in another life, Moses, I would get a master's degree in children's lit and then teach it.
Can you do that?
If there was, yes.
Isn't a master's degree in children's lit called preschool?
Anyways, I would teach children's lit at a college, at a university.
That would be awesome.
But unfortunately, there is culture war to fight, guys. Yeah. And we do not all have the luxury of teaching children's lit, but that sounds lovely. My favorite book, I have to say, that was not a question you asked, but my favorite book that I read this year was probably Notes.
I get to say my favorite book then. Okay. But go ahead.
My favorite book was probably... Obviously, I read the Bible, so don't at me, but Notes from the Tilt-A-Whirl by N.D. Wilson, and that was not fiction. It was an excellent book. He talks about how, as we live, we're on a way to die, basically. Like, we're dying as we live, which is very true. Like, every day I live, I'm actually dying and I'm getting closer to death. And so you're going to end up in the end of your days, whenever that is, maybe you're old or maybe you're 21 and you die in a car accident, you're going to empty yourself as you live. And you're either going to empty yourself by like watching TV and doing all of these things, getting your nail, doing all these temporal things, or you're going to empty yourself by pouring out your gifts and using your gifts to serve others. So I can choose to die empty in a way after having made amazing meals for my family, after having getting married, brought up children, taken the hard route and worked for nonprofits that, instead of going and working for the most bougie corporate place that will pay me the most money, right? Yeah. Like, we have a choice to lay down our life like Christ did, or we can live the super floofy, unfulfilling life, and you know what? We're going to die, and then we're really going to regret how we lived.
Absolutely.
So, great book. He puts it way better than I did. Moses,
that is a great book.
Your favorite book?
Favorite book? I'll keep it very short. Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy.
Excellent. First time reading?
Yes.
Wow.
It will change your life. It was incredible. People think it's about adultery. I've talked about this on the podcast before. But it's actually about what it means to be faithful in marriage. And there's examples, both positive and negative.
I need to reread it.
Yeah, of what that looks like and what it doesn't look like. And it's absolutely glorious. It is one of the best novels I've ever read. And that brings us to the end of Season 2 of the Family Beacon podcast from Minnesota Family Council. We're so glad that you guys are on this journey with us. We hope to see you very soon for Season 3 in our new office, our new studio, ready to tell you the stories of a new year, but with the same spirit of informing and educating so that we can all come together and fight for life, family, and religious freedom in Minnesota. So thank you so much for watching and listening. Merry Christmas.
for listening to or watching this episode of the Family Beacon podcast from Minnesota Family Council. Subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts so you're up to date on life, family, and religious freedom. You can follow us on Instagram at MN Family Council and subscribe to us on YouTube to watch our content. Get the facts, stand for truth.